Welcome back to another video. In this video we are going to discuss how we can make our iOS app or iPhone app responsive to both portrait and landscape mode. So let's start by creating a new file and name it as Adaptive Size Playground. For this video I am going to use a simulator because this video may not work properly on a preview. So let's start. So we have two ways to make our iPhone app responsive for both portrait and landscape mode, and we are going to discuss and learn both of them. But the first view is user interface size classes, and user interface size class is actually a collection or set of values that indicates the visual size available to the view. And yeah, this value actually tells us about the amount of space available to our views in given direction, either portrait or landscape. And we can read the size, we can read the value for this class from the environment. And there are actually two types of classes for this user interface. Like, it has further two types, I would say. One is vertical size class and the second is horizontal size class. And yeah, each size class has further two traits. One is compact and the second is regular. So compact means a narrow space, and of course regular means a wider space. And SwiftUI actually sets the size class based on the current device type and the orientation of device. And another thing is, these user interface classes are actually available from iOS 13 and above. So if you want to see which iPhone device has which value for these vertical and horizontal class, then I have this link from the Apple documentation that actually explains. And it has all the devices that are available till today, and we have this list. And within this list you can see we have the values for both portrait and landscape orientation. And yeah, we have some iPad devices in here as well, but for the sake of this video I'm only going to cover the iPhone devices. And one thing I actually noticed by looking at this list, all of these iPhone devices, they have the compact height. You can see the compact height, compact height, compact height for the landscape orientation. So this means we have a common point, or the common thing between, or I would say among all the iPhone devices, that their vertical class size has a compact value in the landscape mode. So this is true for all the devices till today, um, till the iPhone 14 Pro Max. In future we do not know what the future size, how what will be the dimension for the future device, maybe for the iPhone 15 or something. But till today it holds true that all the iPhone devices, they have a vertical size class with a value of compact. So let's see how we can use these user interface classes in code. So I will start with the declaration. So we are going to use environment and then backslash dot vertical size class, and then let's just copy this and we can use now the horizontal size class. So yeah, and then this common point that we have, we can use it to make our UI. So we can say that var is device in landscape mode. It will be a computed property, and if the vertical size class is equals to compact, we can say that our device is in landscape mode. And this is only true for the iPhone. For the iPad, you may have to uh, work with the combination of both uh, these classes, and may have to structure or may have to use if-else statements, but I'm going to cover only for the iPhone. So let's just have an if statement in here that checks if the device is in landscape. We are going to use a text that says maybe landscape, and else we can say maybe portrait. And now let's just run this on our simulator. So first we have to use our file in file name in the main file. Now we can run our app. And if you select the simulator, you can see we have this device section at the top bar, and further we have the orientation, and from here we can change the orientation for our device. Right now it's in portrait, so we have a text for the portrait. Let's just try to rotate it, maybe landscape right. Now we have a landscape text, and now if we again change it to maybe a left, now we have still landscape mode. Let's change to portrait, and we have a portrait. So this is it. This is just a basic example how we can use this user interface size class, and how we can design our view for the landscape and portrait. So now I have a real world example in my mind. You may have seen these quiz apps where we have the answers in V stack on the portrait, and if you go to the landscape, then the answers are shifted to the H stack. So we can try to build this uh, using these or using this uh, class. So let's just first try to have a structure. So I'm going to have a struct in here for our quiz. I'm going to name this, this is just a data structure or data model. So it's just, I'm going to name it as a quiz, and within this quiz we will have a question of type string, and then we will have an answer A. We are going to have, of course, it's the MCQ based quiz, so we will have 4 answers, and yeah, answer B, answer C, and answer D, all of them of type string. And yeah, and actually I have a question that I just copied from the internet. You can use your own question, that's also fine. So now we can create the object for our quiz. Yeah, let's just move all these parameters to the separate line. And for the question, I'm going to copy this one because this is our question. And for the answer, let's just copy all this value. So yeah, and this is just this data structure or this model is actually only for the scope of this video. If you have a if you are working on a real world app, this may not be very helpful. So you have to see if you can use this in your app, but this is just for the sake of this video. We have a structure so that we don't have to rewrite all these answer or question again and again. So I just created a group or model for them. And yeah, so now I'm going to write a separate view, but it's up to you. You can create a separate SwiftUI file as well. I'm just going to write a view inside this file. So let's just say maybe a regular view, and our regular view will be for the landscape mode. And in this view we want to design this view for the maximum space. So we are going to have a vstack in here, and let's just use our quiz object inside this view, so that whenever you create this view you will pass your quiz object, and then we can just simply pass on the values. So I'm going to have a text in here, then just display the question, and maybe for the font use headline. Yeah, and for the answer, now I'm actually going to create a separate view. So have maybe like an answer row, and yeah, and then for the answer row we actually need an answer string. So maybe I can write something like this. So now we can have a text in here. This is going to display the answer, and the font I'm going to use a small version, because our if you look at this, our answers are actually a bit long. So for this reason I'm going to use a smaller text. And then let's just give it a padding and then a background, and for the background let's use a rounded corner radius of 20, and then we are going to use a stroke to have a border, and let's just use a line width of 0.5. And yeah, and then we can give this view a maximum width of infinity, so that it can take all the available space it has, and just use the alignment of leading. So yeah, now we can display our answer. So I'm going to use an h tag in here, and within this h tag I'm going to use a vstack, and then we can just use our answer row and provide the answer A, and let's use answer B, and then we can copy this vstack and use answer C here, answer D. So this is our view for the landscape, or this is the regular view that we want. And then we have a compact view. This is the view where we want to use on where we do not have a maximum space. So maybe for the portrait mode, and in here we simply want to use a vstack, and then we can just copy our first we have to use quiz in here as well. So let's just use the quiz object, and then we can just copy our question text from here, and similarly we can copy this answer, because we only want to display them yeah, in a vstack, simply in a vstack. So let's just have C and then D. So this vstack is going to place them one by one, and yeah, I think our views are completed, and now we can use let's just maybe uh, have a vstack in here, so that we can use a padding, and then we can check if device is in landscape mode, we can use the regular view, and if it's not, we can use the compact view. Yeah, so let's run the app and see how this looks. So this is how we wanted it in a portrait mode. Remember, we have this portrait mode, we are only we are going to display, or we are displaying it just in a vstack. And let's rotate our device and see how this looks. And this looks the way we want it in a landscape mode. So in the landscape mode we wanted to have an edge tag, because we wanted to display two answers side by side. So we have two answers side by side on each row, and yeah, so this is just the way we wanted it. And if for some reason on your apps if your answers are too big, because right now this is iPhone 14 Pro, and if you may run this on a smaller device, you may not see them as good as I'm seeing right now. So maybe you can just use a separate, or you can break your longer text into two lines so that it looks good. And yeah, so that's it for the first way to use for the first way to make your iPhone app responsive by using the size classes. And I think it's that's all for the for this size classes. I will just recap it. So size class is a collection of values that indicates the visual size available to the view, and it has two classes, vertical and horizontal, and each of these class has further either a compact or a regular value, and these values are actually decided on the basis of current device type and the orientation of the device. And we just uh, pointed out from the Apple Docs. I'm going to share a link for that document in the description of this video, that most of the iPhone devices, they have the vertical space or the vertical size as compact in the landscape mode, and that's the condition we used in here. And this is the condition on the basis of which we are displaying our landscape and the portrait versions. And now let's just see the second way with which we can make our app responsive is by using ViewThatFits, and it's only available from iOS 16 and above. So ViewThatFits is actually itself a view that adapts to the available space by providing the first child view that fits within the proposed size. And we need to provide the views in order of preference to the init method, and usually this order is from largest to smallest. And by default it has both horizontal and vertical axes. So let's just try to understand this with an example. So we can comment out this code, and in here we can use view that fits, and you can see with this or the second initializer, it actually can accept the access serif. So if you want to maybe use it for only a single access, you can use that, but I'm going to use the default version where it actually has both the access. And in simple word, if I say so, what it does, you actually can provide multiple child views, and it only provide one view to device, I can say, that fits the space. So for example, if your device is in a portrait mode, and the views you are going to provide, let's just say you have two texts in here, and let me use this one maybe first, and then we have another text that simply says hello world. Now we have two texts, okay, and now if we run this, you can see we only have a hello world, even though the hello world is from the order or from the order wise is on the second position, but still it's visible on the view. And the reason is, from the multiple childs, it only provide or selects, I would say, uh, yeah, only provide or select one view, and the view that it select, it's actually is decided on the basis of the space of the view that fits within the available space. So right now this hello world perfectly fits within this available space, and that's the reason it is displaying this hello world here. So yeah, and yeah, you only, and the another thing is you actually need to provide the views on the basis of the on or the order. The basis of the order is from largest to smallest, just the way that we have it right now. We have this largest text, larger text on top and smaller on the bottom. And now let's just see how we can, or if we use our views. Let's just use the regular view, which is the landscape mode, because it has a larger width, and we are going to use it first. And then we can use the compact view. And now if we run this, so on the portrait mode we perfectly have the portrait version, and if I rotate my device, on the landscape version it perfectly has the landscape mode. So this is actually decided on the basis of the space that the view can fit in. So this regular view, you can see it has a larger space, so uh, it actually tries to fit this one into the portrait version. So if I rotate my device, now it's trying to fit this regular view in here, but of course it cannot, so it just skipped this version and then goes to the next view and see, yeah, I can fit this one, and it selects this one. So even if you have another view afterwards, like maybe the last view, now this it actually stops at this one. So as soon as a view is found that fits the available space, it stops. It doesn't look ahead. And yeah, so that's it for this one. It's a very simple and very powerful view in iOS 16, introduced in iOS 16. So the advantage with this user interface class is that we can use it with the older version, like with iOS 13, 14 and 15. And the advantage of this view that fits it, we do not have to decide between all these clauses. Like if in future we have a device that does not satisfy this condition, then our UI may not look good. So for that reason, this view that fits it actually perfectly manages, because we don't have to take care of all these conditions. It's just it does the SwiftUI itself does all this work for us, and we just have to provide the larger view first and then the smallest view afterwards, and just like that we can make our app responsive to different modes. So that's it for this one. This video is a bit long, and the only reason is I wanted to explain as much I could. But if you still have anything in your mind, let me know in the comment. And yeah, I will see you in the next video.